Welcome to the Wellnest Mamas podcast. We are committed to leading a sustainable lifestyle and making community connections. In a world where stress and chaos seem to be the norm, finding balance and fostering a sense of true well-being is essential.
Whether you are just beginning your holistic wellness journey or are already deeply dedicated to the practice, this podcast is for you. Join the Wellnest Mamas as we uncover the secrets to holistic wellness and discover the power of building a healthy community that supports and uplifts one another.
Sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on a transformative journey to leading a sustainably healthy lifestyle. We're glad you're here. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Caitlin from the Wellnest Mamas podcast.
And I'm Steph, and today we have Coleen Huebert with us. Welcome, Coleen.
Hello. Hello.
So excited to meet you. I dug into your webpage a little bit and got to see a lot of what you do, and I'm really excited to share about what you're doing. So can you tell us kind of more about you?
Yeah. I started in alternative health 8 years ago. I was a high school science teacher for a long time, have really science brain, one class short of pre-med, so very much like medical minded. And everyone always thought I needed to be a doctor. And I told them basically, I just don't want to take the MCAT. I just want to teach kids. And so I was a science teacher for a while, but when I started having kids, I stopped teaching formally. I still taught a little bit here and there, but my daughter ended up with ADD, a very severe case of ADD, and we tried working with it through a naturopathic doctor, like going the natural route, and that helped a lot until she hit puberty. And when her hormones changed, it really got bad. I mean, she had like a 10-second attention span. And trying to do schoolwork in middle school with that type of attention span was very frustrating for her. And so we ended up doing the Western med route of it, and it crashed her. So she became suicidal. She was very, very depressed. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. Like they said, oh, it'll wear out of her system by the evening, and then she'll want to eat, she'll sleep, get up the next day, and it'll be fine. And it wasn't for her. What I know now is that she has the MTHFR mutation, so she didn't move any of that out of her body. And what I also learned is that she's very susceptible to mold. And right around that time, we had moved into the house that we're in now, and she had some mold toxicity because we just remediated this year. And so we figured it out, and what I know now as a naturopath was like, oh, that's what was going on this whole time. A big contributing factor for her, but we didn't know that then. Doctors didn't know that then. And so I was looking for just a way to help her. The medical field basically said, you're gonna have to change your expectations of what life is gonna be like for her. Because we can either drug her with antidepressants, sleep pills, and appetite enhancers, along with her meds, or we take her off everything and just change how life is going to be. You're going to have to make sure she's in a quiet place. You're going to just have to account for the issues. And it was kind of a hopeless place to be. For about 6 months, we were there. And a friend called me and said, there's this lady that I know that can balance neurotransmitters with her hands. So it's non-invasive. It's helped some other people that I know. She's a Christian. And I was kind of just like mind blown, like how could anyone balance neurotransmitters with their hands? Like that's magic, that's not possible. So I would need to learn more about it. And she said, there's actually a class coming up in Springdale that I'm thinking about going to. Do you want to go with me? And we can learn more about it and see if this is something that we're okay with, truly okay with. So I went to that class with her and really was just blown away. Like I still remember sitting in the class thinking, in all my pre-med type classes, since I was just one class short, we never heard about meridians, even though they have been scientifically proven to exist. Like we never heard about that, and just kind of floored by the information that I learned there. And then went home with her and used what I learned, and she slept for the first time in years. She slept 18 hours that night. And I thought I broke her. I literally like woke her up. She went to the couch. She fell back to sleep. I was like, you're missing choir. You need to get up. And she like could not wake up. And finally, when she came to at like 2 o'clock the next day, she'd gone to sleep, normal time, bedtime. I said, I feel like I broke you. Are you sick? Like, what's wrong? And she's like, no, Mom, I finally slept and I'm good. I feel the best I felt in years, you know? And so that, you know, I started working with some other homeschool families and just helping their kids with food allergies, and it worked amazingly well. It was wonderful. And then a business just grew out of that. But within a year, I noticed, like, I feel like some people are slipping. Like they were doing really good, and now they're coming back and saying it's kind of creeping back up. And I also noticed how much trauma was involved. So often, because I would muscle test people, and so often it would come up, there's something that happened when you were 5. What happened? They're like, oh, that's when my parents got a divorce and we moved to this place. And I didn't know what to do with it, other than like acknowledging that that's part of the issue. But I really felt like that was also part of why they were slipping back. It's like we need to be able to address the trauma to be able to really help the energy work hold long term. And so ran across, actually someone sent my husband a video of Splankna, which you've talked before, because I watched Amy Kugler. Yeah. And so I went to Splankna training, just felt very led, like I have to go to this. And went and started working with trauma, and that was a huge shift. So I was still doing energy work, but Splankna is like energy psychology, and working with people with the trauma. Learned some other energy modalities as well along the way. When COVID hit, I became a naturopathic doctor. So used that time at home when I wasn't seeing as many clients to get my degree for that. Because people kept saying, what supplement should I take? What food should I be eating? Like, and I was like, I don't really know. And so that was where I felt like I was really weak. And so I got the title of naturopathic doctor, and it's just expanded. I just keep learning. I'm a researcher, so I love to learn, and just going deeper and deeper with people. So very much like Amy, I work with dissociative identity disorder, satanic ritual abuse, like lots and lots of deep trauma. And I've had counselors refer people to me that are stuck and don't know where to go. And so now really it's much more trauma work than energy work. But I go deep fast. So that's different than counseling, right? Or not talk therapy at all. It's very much just getting straight to what do you believe about yourself. So this thing happened with your dad. I don't want to hear all about what happened with your dad, but what did you believe about yourself because that happened? And I've really focused recently on identity, because as I dig deeper and deeper to help people, God really just placed it on my heart the last 6 months. Go for identity. Teach about identity. And a friend of mine referred me, she said, if you're going to talk about identity, you have to read and listen to Jamie Winship. Have you guys ever heard of him? Okay, so you can find him on YouTube if you just search Jamie Winship. And his website, I think, is like identityexchange.com. And he wrote a book called Living Fearless.
And I've heard of that book.
Oh, you've heard of the book?
I've heard of that title, yes.
So Jamie's the author of that. Okay. And that was another huge shift. It feels like when I learned Splankna and everything shifted, like I've learned this and everything shifted. And so now just really work with people. I don't do as much muscle testing. I don't do much energy work. I really just go deep into truth. And what I learned by reading his book is that my identity is a teacher of truth. I always knew I was a teacher. Because remember, I was a high school teacher, right? Since I was in like 3rd grade, I was making lesson plans and how can I teach this? You know, like it's been woven into me. But I'd kind of lost sight of it and thinking, oh, I'm a healer. Oh, I'm a naturopathic doctor. Oh, I'm a businesswoman, right? I had all these other titles. And God really said, no, let's back all that off and go back to you are a teacher, specifically of truth. helping people to see and know the truth of who they are, you know, and filling people with worth, because really we're in such a shame culture that we have to peel the shame off. So asking a lot of questions like, why do you believe that? And what does God want you to know about that? And really digging down to, what are you scared of? What are you ashamed of? You know, and really digging deep and asking hard questions in the first session. The first time, I mean, sometimes even as people are just telling me why they're there, I'm going to go, what's going on with that statement right there? You know, and start really going deep fast. So that's the main thing of what I do and kind of my little journey to get there. So
it's funny how children are always our launching off point.
I know,
It's
right? 'Cause
like
we love
every
them.
single podcast, it's like, how'd you get into this? Well, children.
My child is sick. Yeah, or this
something was
happened.
going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
they really are. It really is. Because they
Right.
reveal all of that stuff to ourselves. Like,
Yeah, well, and we just love them.
Yeah.
And we want the best life for them that we can offer, right? So we're always looking for answers if something goes wrong, you know, where it just feels like this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
I love that you said you focused on identity, because that is something, especially as women, I feel like we are forced to live different identities, even as far as like taking on another person's name, or you know, like just becoming a mother. I identify as a mother, or I'm a woman. I am a businesswoman. I'm more
Your
than
wife,
just,
or your mom, or your or your career.
So I think of those as like
Yeah.
masks that you wear, right? You do put this one on for a while, and then you put this one on for a while, right? But who are you? Like, what is in your DNA?
Your core.
Yeah, of how God created you to be. Like, what does He call you, right? Because when you're hit by your dad, let's say, like something happens that's really traumatic, you can start to believe, like, I'm only a punching bag, and that's all I'm worth, right? And so we have to step out of that. And actually, I mean, I use a lot of imagination and having people write out stuff, or depending on, you know, empaths are like super creative and very visual. So, you know, I usually get a feel pretty quickly, like, how do you hear things? How do you hear God? Do you hear God? And I believe even people that don't believe in God hear God, you know? And so, like, how are you hearing God? And then tap into that to, okay, draw a picture of what you're hearing. Draw a picture. You know, I believe that we need to know who God created us to be, not who everybody else tells us, you know, that we are. If I would have listened, I would have become a medical doctor. And it would have been not good. You know? Because everyone is like, you should be a doctor. You're so good at science. You're so good at this. Go be a doctor. And I was just like, no. You know, so because we can feel it, we know. The other thing that I learned through Jamie Winship was, when you know who you are, you have joy in living that out, right? So think, if you're doing things and there's not joy in it, it doesn't mean it won't be hard. Like, it can still be super hard to do the things, but there's such a joy in it. It's not heavy in the same way. And so living in your identity, there's joy. Like, that's a sign. He said when people are not living, like, he knows when they're not, because there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety around what they're doing.
They're not lighting up.
Right. Yeah. And so he said that's just a huge tell. So when they're not lighting up, like if someone says, well, this is what I do and I just love it, and you know, and they're so excited, it's like, oh, they're there. You know, and maybe there's some burdens they're carrying that we can set down, but we don't have to do the identity type work with them. But a lot of people aren't there. You know, they're just wearing the mask.
Lots of voices in the world.
Yes, including our own.
Oh, yeah.
That tells us, no, you can never do that. You know, we have this dream that's been in us for 10, 15 years, and we don't do it. Why not? Right? That's part of what's woven into us. And so we have to pull off the fear and the anxiety around it to say, okay, God, what's the first step to that dream? You've placed this plan in me. What do you want me to do today and step out of the fear and move forward in confidence.
In action.
In action, yeah. So I work with people like, what is the first step that you're going to do today? And then hold them accountable. Next time they come in, I'm like, did you do the first step? And were there more that he gave you? Are you listening? So I'm teaching them, 1, how to hear God, and 2, how to shift identity and believe that what they hear is true. Because doubt always comes in, right? Like, even if you hear, well, this is my identity, you're going to try to define it. You know, it's like, no, listen to how God defines it. What does he say that is? Because you might jump to a conclusion, well, it's that, and I don't want to do that. And then you squash it down, right? Like, I don't want to, whatever aspect. And because you have a certain idea of what that means. And it's not always true, right? So we have to really listen to move into what God wants us to actually do. Like, don't rush ahead. I like to do that. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go do these things. And God is like, no, you're going to do one step. Here, I'll give you this part of the picture. Only do that step and do it when I say, right? So learning to just listen and be obedient and one step and just take time. Yeah.
That's a good tip because we usually ask, like, can you leave us with a tip, or whoever's listening, and that slow down, listen.
And everybody can hear it.
We're rush
so
culture.
impatient.
We're busy.
Yeah.
And I believe we're not taught to listen. We're not taught
to listen, rest, or slow down.
No.
None of those
right.
things.
Not at all.
It's time, guys.
Yeah.
Here's your project.
Here
Okay,
you
so
go.
next time you listen to us, we want to check in. We're going to check in. Did you listen? Did you rest? Did you slow down? If you're listening to this again, we'll
Even
check
if you need
back
to
in.
turn it to half speed, listen to it slowly.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, and it is so interesting because I have a lady that sits with me sometimes when I work with people, and she just prays and she speaks a lot of truth into the sessions. And I was saying, how young could we do these sessions? Like, what do you think the cutoff kind of should be? Because I do work with kids. And she said, I'm thinking like maybe like 8 to 10, like, and she goes, oh no, I would do 5. And I was like, why? Like, do you feel like a 5-year-old could do this sort of identity work? Because that feels so much for older, like 12.
Yeah.
You're like stepping into your calling. You're asking a lot of good questions. Like 12 seems like a good time to do this type of work. And she goes, oh no, because at 5 we hear God.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're so right. Like kids hear God so well. She goes, I would rather a 5-year-old hear their calling and know it, and the parent know it, and speak that into them from when they're little.
Yeah.
And they know.
Because
you'll hear them, they'll be like,
hear.
they're not going to tell you, oh, I want to be a mathematician. Or they say, I want to be a helper.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're like, I want to love.
Exactly.
I want to love a lot. And it's like,
They haven't had the meat and potatoes of the world thrown at them yet.
Right.
They're
And
not as many voices.
They're not thinking vocationally. It really is their identity. And then when they get to 12 and they're starting to search, like, what did I do with my life? Like in Siloam, they have them taking career identification test in 8th grade. And they don't know what they want to do.
I know.
But if they know they're a helper, you could do so many things. It doesn't matter what you choose. Like the stress is off. You're just going to be a helper no matter what you do. You can do any vocation. And you'll be fine because you're still doing what you've been called to do. Yeah.
So you say that you identify as a teacher. Are there any classes coming up, or do you do workshops? Tell me.
Well, I have taught classes in the past, but I'm kind of changing
Oh, okay.
because I want, that's kind of where the shift came out of. I was talking to someone about classes that I've been teaching, and I said, I feel like God's calling me to teach on identity. That was the first thing I said to her. She was another teacher down in Fayetteville. And I said, I don't think I'm going to teach like warfare and authority and like all the other things I've been teaching. I think I need to teach hearing God and identity. Because if we do those things, all the other stuff takes care of itself. Like, you know who you are. You stand in authority. Yeah. And And so I'm shifting, like I'll probably be having, I think I'm going to do like an online class come this fall. That'll just be posted on my website. I would love to start presenting to groups or to schools or to corporations on this type of idea. And it doesn't have to be God-focused, even though I believe God does it. You can also, as a non-Christian, go, I believe that there is universal love. And to me, I'm like, well, universal love is God, right? And so we just talk about it in that way. And so going into corporations, going into schools, and starting to really share. Like, I would love to do this in groups because I think community is actually best found in community, where they, like, you can find your identity, but it's affirmed. Yes, I've seen this in you. Like, you hear this thing and everybody's going, yes, that is you. And it's like, okay, you're not going to doubt as much, right? And you're going to trust that you did hear, right? Or people are going to go, you know, I've never seen that in you. And you're like, okay, did I hear wrong? If I heard wrong, why? You know, and we can stop, like back up and say, what is the resistance? Maybe there's fear about hearing. Someone told me recently, like, I don't know if I want to hear because it might mean that I have to change.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have to do something different. It might mean I change vocations. It might mean we have to move. It might mean and I don't know that I'm ready for that. So I don't know if I want to hear. And to me, I'm like, why wouldn't you still want to hear? Because once you know, you don't live in fear. Yeah. And you can push back against the fear. But for some people, they're like, I can't do that. I'm not willing to, and, you know. And so I think in community, it's really good. So I would really envision, I'm not doing it yet, but I would love to start sharing in groups and people like church or whatever, homeschool mom groups or
well, we know a place that has a sweet community room.
In a big community. That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
This would be really cool. I mean, you could, I could see easily pulling together an identity workshop, you know, something that you can really sit and think, especially maybe even one geared towards mothers who are struggling with,
because they're like, I'm a mom, but I'm not really a mom, right?
Yes.
Being a mom was hard for me.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was very good at it. You know, like I am.
We're
My
taught
kids
that it's
tell
supposed to
me-
be so natural, and so like you are going to be the perfect mother, and it's like, well, you're perfectly imperfect for your children, but
but if you live out of
still,
that core identity and move your momming around that, right? Then there's joy,
Yes.
right? So
I love that. Focus
I would love
on the
to
joy
encourage
and
people.
like lean into what is bringing you joy. That seems like
pay attention.
a good way to like kind of guide you, or if you're confused and you're like, I don't know which way, find that joy.
Yeah.
This was really great.
cool. Yeah.
I am so glad that you came on. So tell us, where can people reach you? What is the best place? Where do you prefer to be contacted? Do you like email?
Okay.
What's your...
Yes. So you can contact me at, I have a website. So www.dogwoodwellnesscenter.com. And on that website, you can see a little bit about what I offer as a naturopathic doctor, and truth sessions is what I call them. And you can contact me through the website. You can email me at info@dogwoodwellnesscenter.com. And my number's on there too on the website. So any of those ways. Yeah.
And you're located in Siloam.
I am. Yes.
Do you do virtual?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So the truth sessions are great virtually. I've done several of them recently that were profound. Like one lady, I met her for the first time. She was referred to me by another practitioner here in Northwest Arkansas who was struggling to get her to meet, like they'd kind of hit a wall. And I met her the first time. We found out she was believing an identity from her dad that wasn't good. And basically through that, like she lost 6 pounds in 5 days.
Wow.
I mean, like she just totally let go of the weight she was carrying.
Literally.
The body keeps the score.
Yes. And people do that. I mean, I've seen thyroid shift. An 80-year-old woman with thyroid issues where we just worked on her abusive husband in his 20s, one session. She was from out of town. And she called me back a few months later and said, my thyroid numbers are fine for the first time in 60 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I do virtual, I do all different, whatever people need.
So it's not just for people in Northwest Arkansas.
No.
This is everybody.
Anywhere. Yeah, anyone can. I have Zoom, so we just jump on Zoom together. And
But do you
from
meet
there.
locally if people are local? That's an
I have an
option?
office at my house on my property out in the country. There's like squirrels that run over and you can hear the birds sing. People really like it for trauma work.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not an office space. It's just a
Calm.
safe, calm room that is, I moved out of it for a while and people are like, why did you leave? Go back to your house. And so I went back.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
This has been wonderful. I'm so glad that you listened to that little twinkle that was telling you to get on that podcast.
Yes.
Because this has been really great, and I know our listeners are going to really appreciate hearing your insight and just kind of knowing that this exists in the world. I mean, there are times where I have been like, you should probably talk to somebody that knows a little more something, you know, like there are certain
Like
things.
every day.
Right?
So it's just great that we have this resource, and we're so excited to be able to share this episode with our community and for you to put your voice out there as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Coleen.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is there anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. I think I shared a lot.
Yeah, you did great. No, this was wonderful. So, all right, guys. See you next
Everybody.
time. Bye. Get some rest.